Hi, I'm Brittany with Average Family Abroad, and today I'm sitting in the office of our attorney who's helped us with our temporary and permanent visas for residency here in Ecuador, José Febres with Ablitco. And Jose is going to speak about real estate, the process for foreigners interested in purchasing land or a house here, and also the pitfalls and how you can avoid those. Jose, do you want to tell our viewers a little bit about you first?
Yeah, of course. First, thank you for the invitation. Okay. We are here. We have an office in Loja, in south of Ecuador, which you Brittany knows
Yes,
pretty well right now.
very well.
And our office has different practice areas. Okay, like civil law, immigration law, constitutional law, administrative law, labor law. Yeah, of course, with different experts.
Yeah.
No one can do everything. Okay. So yes, basically that's our office. The only thing we don't do is criminal law.
Okay.
We don't like it too much. So part of the civil law is part of what we're going to talk today.
Great.
About real estate and about what is the big questions about real estate for a foreigner, because the system could be very different.
Yes, and it can be very successful and wonderful, or it can be a nightmare for foreigners attempting to make it work. And you're from Loja, right?
Yes, I am. I was born here and I live here all my life. And I was for a while in Spain doing a master's degree.
Okay.
But besides that, I have been living here in Loja and I practice here.
And it's the best place to live?
I love it.
Okay. Yes.
The climate, it's one of the things that a lot of our clients love.
Yes, we do. We are some of those clients. Yes, we first met with Jose before we even moved to Ecuador. You can check out our video on immigration visas, where we spoke with his colleague, Abi. But today we're excited to dive into real estate. So do you want to give us just an overview of the process? What's on your mind first? And I'll interject if I have any questions.
Yes, of course. Whenever you want to buy real estate in Ecuador, I think that the first thing you need to know is that there is two big different systems, okay? In the US, in other countries, as you know, you may have or you may need months to buy a property.
Yes.
Okay? Like foreigners you do, or it's common to do in other countries, a lot of due diligence, okay? A lot of due diligence, and you need 6 months for buying a property, okay? In Ecuador, that's not the case, okay? That means that, but that doesn't mean that you don't need to investigate a property first.
Yeah.
Okay. So whenever you want, if you are planning to buy property, the first thing you need to do is do at least a small investigation.
Yeah.
That's something that a lot of people doesn't do. Even Ecuadorians.
Yeah.
It's not only for foreigners. They don't do it. And we have always wondered why. Because doing an investigation on a property is very important before you buy a property.
And when you say investigation, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, due diligence. Okay? It's due diligence, but principally, okay, first of all, and the most important thing is to check if the property doesn't have any kind of liens or encumbrances that is affecting the property, because you never know.
Yeah.
That's the easy part, okay? But there are other things that you need to check. For example, if the property has water or not, if it has a potable water service or not, who is providing this potable water service, okay? Especially for foreigners that commonly buy properties on rural areas.
Yes.
Okay. It's not common that they go and buy property in city, or at least it's less common that they buy properties inside the city. They like the nature.
Yes.
And of course, we also like it, okay? So they buy usually big properties in the mountain or in a rural area, okay? But most people is very attracted for the prices, okay? Because, a lot of hectares and the amount of money they pay is not too much, okay? If you compare it with another country, like in the US, okay? But it could be very challenging to get the services there if there is not no service, for example, okay? Also, you have to know, and you need to know that Ecuador You need to know, for example, you need to check if when you buy especially very big properties outside of town, you need to check, for example, if there are mining concessions there. Okay, things that no one checks. But in the future, this could affect you. It could affect the property because even you are the owner of the property, the government is the owner of the underground.
So they could come in and start digging.
The government the government basically could give a concession on part of your property or on the whole property.
And
so this could be a problem. It usually is not, okay? But
in some parts, though, for sure.
Some parts, and near Vilcabamba. For example, if you are near Vilcabamba, you are in Quinara.
Quinara, exactly.
There are mining concessions in that area. Okay, so you have to be careful where you buy.
And you don't own what's extracted from the ground. The government gets it.
You don't own and also you don't own the underground, let's say.
And they could dig it out.
You own the ground, okay? The government owns the underground.
Okay.
And the aerial space, let's say.
And the seller of the property, it's not illegal for them not to disclose that? That's all on the buyer to figure out?
That's the deal. We do not have, a specific laws in which they have to disclose it.
Okay.
We have a specific laws, for example, if you can prove that they intentionally hide it from you, okay? That they intentionally hide it from you. But the consequences are not always like, I want my money back.
No.
That is like the last option, like the worst consequence of selling you a property, hiding from you something that affects the property really hard.
Yeah.
Okay? But that's like the worst consequence.
Yeah.
Okay? The other ones, for example, could probably include a reduction in price. But, in order to get there, you need like 3-year or 4-year process in a court.
Boy. Yeah, that's
no one wants that.
No.
So it's important, the due diligence.
Yeah, and we wouldn't have even known to ask that. I don't think we asked about mining when we bought our property, so that's good to know. And would you suggest that potential buyers speak with neighbors, barrio leaders, other people other than the seller who are local, or just go through an attorney?
I think it's important to go through an attorney. Okay? Mainly because, for example, what you mainly search in this due diligence, for example, is what information the mining authority has and what information if it's a rural area without water rights, what information the water authority has about this property, okay? And what information, mainly and the most important one, what information the municipality has about this property. Because this is another thing. I'm talking about the less common first.
Yeah.
Mining, problems with water, problems with mining. That's like probably less common, okay? But what is most common is that people, for example, buy properties and they do not check in the municipality what they can build on that property.
Yes, we have friends who encountered that situation.
Exactly, because there's a lot of limitations. There could be limitations, okay, on that specific property because the municipality maps, the municipality approve every 3 years, they renew, like what we can call, I don't know how we can call it, but it's like in Spanish is like zoning map.
Oh yeah.
Okay, that's for other words. Zoning maps.
Yeah.
So a zoning map is basically what they tell you if your property is in a specific zone, for example, in a protection zone.
Yeah.
Okay, in which you will be able to do very little.
Yeah.
Okay, and sometimes you buy 200 hectares property or 100 hectare property, thinking that the municipality will allow you to do whatever you want there.
Yeah.
And probably that's not the case.
You mean if it's up near like Podocarpus or in a protected area or?
But not only national parks. You could have other protected areas like are established by the municipality of Loja without necessarily being part of a national park.
So the municipality of Loja, do they have control over Vilcabamba, Quinara, all of that? So that's where...
Because those are parish.
Yeah.
Of Loja.
Yeah.
It's Canton Loja. Okay, and the parish of
those all pertain to Loja.
Yeah, pertains to Loja.
Okay.
So basically, and it depends, in every in every canton of Ecuador,
Yeah.
there has different municipalities, and each municipality has the right and the zoning maps for their territories. Okay, so it's very important. Okay, because sometimes you buy properties and you think, even in small properties, you buy a 2,000 square meter property. Okay, and you think you will be able to do a 600 square meters house. That is a big house. It's a very big house, but some people want to do that, and the municipality says no, you cannot do it. So you have to go through the municipality and check what the limitations on these properties are.
And does that pertain to the type of construction, things like added swimming pools, renovations, all of that?
Of course, yes.
Okay.
Yes, completely. Well, the type of constructions, a little bit less, okay? But of course, there are some protected zones in which they only allow you certain types of construction, okay? But more than anything is, first of all, if you are allowed to build there.
Yeah, at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
At all. And second, if you are allowed on what you can build, how many square meters you can build. Okay? That's a good question that can be solved through the due diligence, because you can get a document from the municipality in which they will say you these are the limitations on this specific property.
Yeah, because the owner of the property will say, "Oh yeah, you're fine. It's fine." And they want it to be fine, but they don't really know.
Exactly. And they probably don't even know.
No, they're not trying to deceive you. They're not. They're just. They don't know. So get a legal source verifying all of that. Now, what if you wanted to do an agricultural project, like a small thing on your property? Is that pretty much allowed, or?
That is the same thing. You have zoning map. You cannot do agricultural projects in every property.
Okay.
Hey, it depends if you are in the correct zone. Okay, so there is a lot of zones. Okay.
Yes.
And some are considered like for living. Others are considered for agricultural, most than anything. Okay, so in the agricultural projects, for example, they allow you to build less square meters, because in theory that's a zone that needs to be or it's planned to be developed in another way, not like a city.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what is important, and it's important because a lot of people, for example, people that buy bigger properties, okay, or big properties, some of them want to divide the properties. They want to develop the properties, but probably they cannot even develop the property because the zoning says that in that area you can only have properties of 1 hectare or more.
Yeah.
So big subdivisions, or probably you cannot even subdivide. Even if it's a big property, they say, no, here in this zone, you cannot subdivide. This zone is not subject to subdivision. So you cannot have more than one lot. So you have to be careful.
Yeah.
Not only if you are going to, most of the properties, they will allow you to build a house for living, for family. Most of the properties, okay? But if you, for example, want to develop, you have to be very careful of what you're buying.
Okay.
Okay. Yes.
Are there fewer restrictions outside of, the urban area? Or, I mean, you're saying that there are lots of restrictions in rural areas as well.
Yes. No, there are a lot of restrictions in rural areas as well.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes. And you have to be careful because right now the laws are a little bit more strict than it used to be.
Yeah.
For example, now when you build a house, you must have a construction permit, even if you are in the rural area. A lot of architects, well, now it's less, but a lot of architects used to say, no, this is rural area. You don't need construction permit. But the reality is that you need a construction permit. The municipality needs to approve the maps of what you're building there, because after, when you want to sell your property, that could be a problem.
That could be a problem.
They could not allow selling the property without having the construction permits in place.
And there are taxes on properties. And so if you just sort of build something and don't have it permitted and regulated, and then you're not paying taxes on them and you try to sell.
In some point, they will update your construction area. And then they will charge you for the taxes.
Okay.
Okay.
That will catch up to you. Yeah.
Yes, but the problem is that sometimes you may have built something that was not allowed at all. And they won't approve the maps.
What do they do if you build? Do they make you knock it down or make you get permitted?
It is really difficult to say. If if they start the process while you are building, there is a possibility that they knock it down.
Wow.
And in the following years after you build, okay?
Yeah.
They have like 5 years after you build to start a sanctioning process. And part of this process could be knock it down.
Wow.
Of course, that is like the last. They usually don't do it because politically, that's not seen like correctly. So it's not that they just say, "Oh, you build without permission, we will knock it down."
Yeah.
That's very uncommon. It's very uncommon, especially for big constructions or for a whole house. That's not well seen. So they are politics in any case. So they have to protect themselves about that.
Yeah.
But the law says that that's a possibility.
Okay.
To knock it down. Okay. Well, that is regarding like the due diligence, like zoning.
Yeah.
Probably we can talk a little bit about water.
Yes, I wanted to ask about water, a couple of things, which I think maybe is part of due diligence. Like when we bought our property, they just told us there's irrigation water. And I don't think we knew the details of that. When we bought it, we just assumed that meant there was always water available. And it turns out it's more complicated than that. Yeah. And so that's something that people, especially in a rural area, should know about. They should investigate, what does irrigation mean? Okay. What costs are with that? What rights do I have to apply for with the water board and so on?
Exactly.
And another thing with water is I think we have friends who bought property on a river, and rivers are public access here. And that was a frustrating discovery for them. They wanted their private, peaceful river. And they don't have that. Do you want to talk about that a little?
Yes, that would be perfect. And let's start there.
Yeah,
let's start there. I think it's the most important thing. People that buy properties next to rivers, okay, and people that buy properties with water that rises from the property. I think you call like a
spring. Yeah.
Like it's in the property. It burns.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
The water is not yours.
Okay.
Wow. You buy the property, but the water is not yours. Okay. You don't have rights over the water as an ownership. Okay. The government owns the water. Okay. Let's say it like this. Okay. The government is the water is from the government. Okay. It's not yours. Okay. So if you want to use the water, even if the spring is on your property, okay, you need a permission to use the water. Okay. And this permission can take months to get. Of course, in the practice, a lot of people use it because how can you control all the springs in Ecuador? Yes. Because the person the authority who decides this is the Ministry of right now is the Ministry of Energy. Okay, that's a name. Well, wow. That's another discussion. Yeah. Why the president merged the ministry, but that's another discussion. We now doesn't have a Ministry of Environment separate from the Ministry of Energy. It's one thing. Wow. Okay, but in any case, they are the ones who are in charge with the vice ministers. There is a vice ministry of water. Okay. In which of environment really, okay, which has also Secretary of Water and all and structure. They are the ones who decide about granting you the amount of water that you can use. Wow. Okay, even if you take it from the river, even if you take it from a spring. Yeah. Okay? So they grant you a certain amount of water depending how much you need. If you need water, for example, for irrigation, that means for growing plants, or if you need water to feed animals, if you're going to have cows and horses and those kind of things. Or if you want to use water for personal use, for consumption. Okay? It's different things. Yeah. Okay? And these are different, even you can ask in the same process, different type of authorizations, okay? Are different authorizations. Yes. Okay? Yeah. One thing is what you're using for you, another thing is to feed animals, another thing is to grow plants. And trees and these kind of things, okay? We pay our drinking water to our municipality, and we pay the part of the irrigation, one set of irrigation, and then we do something different for the canal, and it's all managed differently. Yeah, and this differs because in Ecuador there is not only the Ministry of Water, there is also what you're saying. There is also what we called it. There are like small private associations, let's say, that are members of people that lives in a place. Sometimes there are associations of water. Yeah. Okay, that manage this water. For example, the irrigation water. Yeah. Or in the places that the municipality cannot give or doesn't have the service for water, probably you have a water association.
Yeah, we have a Junta de Agua.
Junta de Agua, that's the name. It's the water association, potable water association, or irrigation water association. Okay, so they are the ones who grant you the right.
Yeah.
Okay, and you have to be careful with that too.
Yeah.
Some water associations, I don't want to say this, but some of them, how can I say this, wants to take advantage of foreign people. Okay, yeah, and the rules says, for example, you need to pay $50 to transfer the water rights from the old owners.
Yeah.
And they say to the foreigner, no, it's 500. Okay, so you have to be careful with that. That's something that you need to know in advance.
Yeah.
So you talk to them in advance. Say, I'm going to buy this property. What's the process for transferring the water?
Having all of that known.
Having all of that known.
Because we wouldn't even know. We wouldn't know if that wasn't correct. We'd say, okay.
And it's very common that people doesn't even know about water things.
Yeah.
Sometimes, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. What the other thing that probably could be interesting for people to know when you buy a property and you buy it next to a river or next to a, how do you say quebrada? I don't remember the word in English.
Creek?
Yeah, it's a small river.
A small river.
Okay.
Yeah, bigger than a stream, smaller than a river.
Exactly. Creek or a stream.
Yeah.
Okay. When you are next to it and you buy property next to it, you cannot, and this is very important.
Yes.
You cannot build on 30 meters.
Yeah.
From the water
border of
the river or the creek or stream.
Yeah.
Inside your property.
Do you own that land and you just can't build, or does the government technically own it?
Look, it depends. Okay? It depends. If you buy a property that has not been subdivided, okay, and the property deed says that you want to reach the river, you own it.
Okay.
Okay? But you cannot build.
Yeah.
You have to be careful because there is 30 meters.
Yeah.
So that means that your property needs to have more than 30 meters, a lot more than 30 meters, so you can build.
Yes.
Okay. In this area, you can only grow trees or do small things that can be probably removable, like a bench.
Okay.
And these kind of small things. Okay.
Yeah.
But you cannot build a house in these 30 meters. Okay. This is a protection zone.
Yeah.
Now, when you buy a property in order to subdivide, or someone subdivide a property that is next to a river, our local ordinances, our local laws says that when you subdivide, you have to grant for free to the municipality this 30 meters protection area.
Okay.
So basically, you give it to them.
Yeah.
When you subdivide the property.
Okay.
Or when someone subdivide the property.
Wow.
So that doesn't belong. That's how you transfer that part of the property to the municipality. Only if you want to subdivide the property.
Interesting.
Okay. That is interesting for people that want to develop.
Yeah.
Because people who develops say, oh, this is a beautiful property and it has a river.
Yeah.
But when they develop, the municipality says, yes, but our law says that you need to give me this 30-meter protection area before I approve your subdivision.
Wow.
And that could be a shock
for
a person that bought the property because they had a river there.
Yeah. And then again, with the rivers, you may have people potentially walk on your land to access the river or come up the river and sit on your land. Yeah. I know a lot of North Americans are very, private property. This is my river. And here, I don't think there's that sense so much.
We have an ordinance in Ecuador, in Loja, which regulates what they call ecotouristic trails. Okay? You don't find ecotouristic trails in all single property that has a river next to it.
Sure.
But you need to know that there could be a risk that the municipality creates an ecotouristic trail of 5 meters. Okay? You still own the property because your property limits with the river, but there could be established an ecotouristic trail next to the river.
Okay.
Okay? They don't usually do it.
Yeah.
Okay? They don't usually do it, but there is a possibility with this ordinance.
And people use rivers here to do laundry sometimes or bathe. I mean, and so that's also, something that North Americans should be aware of. It's not rude or a violation. It's just part of the culture. So.
Yes, it could be. Yeah. Or of course, I mean,
cows or
you could it's not that you can. It's part of the culture. It's true, but it's not that you can contaminate a river. Okay?
No, not contaminate, but
you can start a claim in the Ministry of. Well, it was environment, now it's energy, but in the Ministry of Environment, let's say, not to confuse people, in the Ministry of Environment, you could start a claim saying this person or my neighbor is, is polluting the river.
I don't think that makes you a very good neighbor, though.
Yeah.
They're washing their clothes.
Yeah, of course.
Just stuff to know about. It's important that people dream about living on a river, and then there's some, I guess, living anywhere, there's reality that goes with it. So it's good to know. Water's a complex issue.
So, what else you need to know before you buy a property? And this is a very common problem. Okay, this is very common. Okay, in Ecuador, sometimes people could be confused on what they are exactly buying. Okay, it's very common that people, for some reason, do not finish the inheritance process in Ecuador. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
So there is a lot of people that tries to sell other people. They say I'm selling you this property, but the reality is that they are not selling you the property, because the people who is selling you is the heirs.
The heirs.
Heirs.
Yeah. Heirs.
Heirs is the word. Excuse me in the pronunciation. The heirs of the deceased person.
Yeah.
Okay. And they have not finished the process to make the property from them. So what they are really selling you is inheritance rights.
Wow, and that's interesting.
That could be, and it's very common. We have seen a lot of people, a lot of our clients say, I bought this, and they bought inheritance rights. So then they have to start a process to get to the property rights. Okay? Like the ownership rights over the property, because what they have is ownership rights over the inheritance rights. So basically that's because in Ecuador you can sell all these inheritance rights over a specific property.
Wow.
Okay. So that is something that is not common at all in other countries. Okay. And it creates a lot of confusion. They say, I'm selling you this, and you go to the notary and you sign and everything, but they never tell you, or they don't even understand. People doesn't even understand that you are buying an inheritance right. You are not buying property rights.
Wow.
This could be a problem with the visa. And of course, you have a big problem if appears another inheritor.
Yeah, if one of the family members isn't agreeing. Oh boy. Yeah.
So that's something that you need to be very careful. Don't buy inheritance rights. Okay.
Yes. Wow.
It's a good advice.
Yeah. We've heard of people buying property that turned out not to be for sale. And then it's like, I don't know what you do in that situation. You think you own a house and you don't. So it's
other common problems are many more than problems. Other common things that you need to check before you buy is the boundaries of the property. Okay.
Yes.
You need to check if the deed, before giving any kind of deposit or anything, if the deed establish all the boundaries and the measurement of the boundaries and the total area.
Yeah.
If it doesn't say anything about that, the best option is to ask to the seller a discount, because you will have to do it in the future. Or you can ask to the seller first
to do that.
Clear your title
with your neighbors. And
you might have a clear title.
Yeah.
Then you sell it to me. And not always because there is a problem with the neighbors. Probably there is no problem with the neighbors, but the deed turns to be so old that there is no clear boundaries.
Yeah. Okay. We have friends who are trying to sell a property, and it's tied to their visa, so it's complicated already. And then the boundaries had never been defined, and one neighbor says that this part is theirs, and someone else, and so it's just kind of a mess that they're trying to get that figured out. So I feel bad.
So that's another thing. Boundaries are very important.
Yeah.
Boundaries and area. Okay, the deed or the title needs to be very clear on what are the boundaries. Okay. Well, here we don't have a difference between the deed and title.
Okay.
That's also something that probably sounds a little bit weird, because I have had a lot of experience with people that doesn't understand this, because in Canada, in the USA, you have a difference between the deed and the title. Here is basically like is one thing. Okay, the deed is the public deed that you sign in the notary, and then you register in the registered property office. Okay, that will be your title, your property title. Okay, that grants you the title of the property.
Yeah.
Okay, and probably that can take us to the process.
Yeah.
Of how to buy property. Okay?
Yeah.
After you do the due diligence, okay, you mark like a line there, and something else. The due diligence is not very expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And not that a lawyer will charge you for a due diligence probably by hour. Probably you can have a due diligence for $250 or $300. But if you compare that to 60, 70, 80, 100, $200,000, it's nothing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Worth doing.
Yeah, it's worth doing. Okay. It's nothing. Okay. So after you have the due diligence and you are sure that the property doesn't have any encumbrances, liens, doesn't have problem with the boundaries, is in a zoning that will allow you to do what you want to do. If you buy something with a house there already, if it has maps or if it doesn't have approved maps, construction maps, after you have that solved, okay, then you can start the process of purchasing the property.
Yeah.
Okay. And this process depends on how you want to do it, because most of the real estate agents wants a deposit.
Mm-hmm.
If you work with a real estate agent or without it, most of the people wants a deposit.
Okay.
And this is the first mistake in how people make business here. Okay. Because they put the deposit without any contract.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And even if they sign a contract, they don't do it correctly.
Yeah.
In Ecuador, if for some reason, okay, you are going to buy a property and you need time to buy the property, for example, because you need to still sell your house back in your country, or because you need a term to get the money to buy the property, or any reason for which you cannot buy it immediately, or even the seller is solving something about the property before he sells or she sells it to you. Okay. The contract that you do to grant a deposit needs to be a formal contract.
Mm-hmm.
This formal contract needs to be done with a public deed before a notary public.
Okay.
If you don't do it in that way, you are just giving $5,000, and the only thing, the document, whatever you sign, if you didn't sign before a notary public, okay, that's a formal contract. If you don't do it formally, okay, you are the only thing that this document is good for is to know that you give $5,000 to another person. Okay? But it doesn't obligate them to pay you a penalty if they don't sell the property, or it doesn't obligate them to sell you the property.
Okay.
They are not even the contract says that they are not obligated because the contract was not correctly performed.
Okay.
These contracts have special formalities. And the special formality is doing correctly before a notary public in a public deed. That's a correct way to do what we call a promissory contract.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to buy something and you want to be sure that you will buy, that they will sell it to you, and that your money is a little bit more protected, okay, you need to do a promissory contract.
Okay.
Okay, it could be a little bit expensive in the notary because it depends on the value of the price of the property. Okay, the property price, but it's necessary if you are going to grant the deposit. Sure. If you are not granting any deposit, you can go directly to the process of buying. Okay, you can enter directly in the process of buying. Yeah. Okay, good. So this process of buying has 3 steps. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Municipality step. Okay. That you finalize the municipality step by paying transfer taxes. Okay. That is paid by the buyer, by the way, not by the seller. Okay. The buyer paid the taxes. Okay. At least the transfer tax. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then you get the authorization. That's the final. In this step, you get an authorization to buy the property. Okay. It's called like authorization to sell. That's the name. Okay. Then you go to the notary, and then you go to the registered property officer. Okay. That's where the process finished. Okay. The first part of the process is the most time-consuming process that could take up to 4 weeks.
Okay.
Okay, from the day you start in the municipality, it could take up to 4 weeks. When you liquidate the taxes, and probably here a good parenthesis would be how much the taxes.
Mm-hmm.
Transfer tax in Ecuador is equal to you basically multiply by 0.11%, 0.11%, okay, of the property price. For example, in a $50,000 property, you may be paying $600 in transfer taxes.
And that just goes to the government. That has nothing to do with like the purchase price.
No, that's a price that's part of the closing costs.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's part of the closing cost. So in a $50,000 property, you pay $600.
Okay.
Okay. That's let's say it's a fixed tax.
Mm-hmm.
It has a specific percentage. Okay. Even if you buy a $1 million property, or if you buy there could be discounts.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yes, there could be discounts if the property was. If you are over 65 years old, for example, you get discounts.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? That's one of the sections. Okay.
Yeah.
So there is a transfer tax. After you liquidate that and you get authorization of transfer, your lawyer takes everything with the contract that your lawyer prepares
Mm-hmm.
to the notary.
Okay.
Okay. And in the notary, you have to also pay to the notary.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The notaries here in Ecuador, as you probably already noticed, works very different than the USA.
Yeah.
We have very few notaries. They are all lawyers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And they are selected by a contest depending on how much population has each city.
Okay.
Okay, so there are very few notaries, and they have a chart, that's a public chart. All the notaries charge exactly the same.
Yeah.
Okay, and there is a public chart that is a progressive chart. So it depends on what you're buying and what's the price you are paying.
Mm-hmm.
The specific amount you will pay to the notary.
Okay.
And it's important to say something here. Some lawyers, okay, recommend their clients to basically lie, okay, on the property price to reduce the taxes payment and the notary payment and the registered property officer payments, okay? Basically the closing costs.
Yeah.
It's not a good advice. Mainly because, first of all, it's illegal. Yeah. Because you declare under the penalty of perjury that's a price, okay? But moreover than this situation is in the future, if for some reason you have a problem with the property and there is a hidden problem, there's something they didn't tell you. For example, if you buy a house and the house was going down and you didn't know because they hide it before they sell it to you, okay? Then when you claim, you will only be able to claim for the price you declare in the sale contract. Okay, so these kind of things, that's why it's important to declare the real price. Okay, the real price. And after that, you go to the notary, and this is also another point in which something deserves a small discussion. Yeah. The payment. Okay? We do not have escrow companies in Ecuador. No. There is no escrows, okay? These escrow companies that have this kind of trust accounts in which the money is very secure until everything is done and they just transfer the money to the seller. We don't have that. So basically everything is done at the same day in the notary. The day you sign the sell-buy contract is the day you pay. Yeah. How to do this safely? Yeah, that's a complicated thing. That's the question. How do you do this safely, okay? It depends. My advice is always, sometimes sellers doesn't have too much problem, but most of the time seller says, if I don't see the money in my account, I don't sign this. Okay? So one way to do it is to have the funds ready in Ecuador before you buy the property. Okay? First transfer to Ecuador and then you send it to the other local bank when you're paying. Except if you're paying to a foreigner, that should change things, okay? But usually first having the money ready, and when you have the money ready, you close on the notary. Yeah. The closing date, okay? And there's two ways: getting a certified check, or what we call general manager's check. Basically, the bank it's a very secure way to pay, because basically the bank takes out the funds. At the time you do the check in the bank, you ask for the check, they take out the funds in your account.
Yeah.
And they keep it in a separate account from the bank.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically that is like cash. And you could add a copy of that to the sell contract, and you can give it to the seller. Or what most sellers prefer in Ecuador is to go to the bank with the buyer.
Yeah.
And
do a transfer.
And do the transfer there. Of course, it's very uncommon that after the transfer they say I'm not signing. It's not common, right? Yeah. But one way, or what I have done at least to ensure, everything can happen. So to ensure my clients to their position, what I usually do is I go to a notary and we sign, the seller sign, but the buyer doesn't sign. They go to the bank and make the transaction, and then we go back to the notary and sign, and the notary.
It's a little bit of a dance.
Yes, it is a little bit of a dance. Like, the seller says, but how can I trust? Because, and that's interesting because the culture is different. In Ecuador, let's say that we don't have the same culture. I would like to have it, but we don't. It's not a culture. By nature, Ecuadorians are not very. They don't trust too much in business. In business, you probably have seen this.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of trust in the business.
Yeah.
Okay, so even trust is important. You know how it's not that they don't trust because it's you. It's just because they want to prevent.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's complicated. If there's something goes wrong, the legal process would be long and expensive and complicated. So
yes, it could be a mess. Yes, yeah. And also it's very important. Why hire an expert or someone that helps you with this process? Because even after the notary, after you pay, you have to go to the registered property officer. And in the registered property officer, there could arise problems.
Oh boy.
Okay, so you don't want that the registered property officer says, I'm not registering this, because that will mean that you're not the owner of the property. Okay, that is, of course, is something very, very, for they to say no, it needs to happen something very particular. Okay, basically almost get scammed. Okay, but that's why in any case, why you have to hire someone. Someone must have the responsibility of saying, yes, this is okay, this can go forward.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And one thing I remember, just so our viewers know, is we spoke pretty good Spanish back then, but we were asked multiple times, I know at the notary and maybe other places along the process, we had to prove that we spoke Spanish, that we understood as foreigners what we were doing, that we intended to buy this, that we weren't being led or misled by somebody. And so we had to have, even though we didn't speak Spanish, we had to have, I think, formal translators along.
Yeah, most of the notaries ask for translations. Ask for a translator.
Yeah, they wanted to be sure.
They want to be sure.
We knew what we
exactly, unless you speak very good Spanish and you show the notary that you do understand what is there. Because, these documents they are formal documents.
Yeah.
The wording that you use there could be a little difficult. Okay, so that's something that's why they ask for a translator.
Yeah.
Even sometimes the translator doesn't help much. Yeah, what it really helps to you is to read the contract.
Yeah.
Before you sign, 1 day or 2 days before, to really know what you are doing there. Okay. Yes, that's the case. That's the case. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, what else? You have is something else in your mind about, I don't know, a question?
Blake, do you? You're off camera, but is anything sticking out to you?
Let's see. What about buying apartments?
Like as
investment?
Oh no, or just to live. Is there anything?
Yes.
Apartment, condo?
Yes. There is a big difference there, and it's a very good question. Okay, and let's go with apartment and condo.
Okay.
Okay, apartment. Okay, you always have what you what we call a specific bylaw. Okay, the apartment when it's a building, they have the building bylaws. So that's probably something you want to check before, because you will have, after you buy, you will have a monthly payment, so, because you share the community expenses. It probably is not very high, but you will share the community expenses, okay? But it depends where you buy property. For example, if you buy property in Quito in a fancy place, you will like to know how much is the monthly fee, okay, for this, which one is the monthly fee, okay, what's the monthly fee, what you can do, what you cannot do. So probably it's worth reading the bylaw, okay, to see everything is in rule, okay? And I think that will be like the only difference, the only true difference, okay? And of course, there are other rules if you live next to another thing, another person, the noise and these kind of things. The bylaws have sometimes these kind of limitations, okay? What you can do and what you cannot do, even if it's your property.
And do apartment buildings typically, because we didn't talk about homeowners insurance, which is not common in our understanding. Do apartment buildings typically have some sort of insurance, or if some of your neighbor burns it down?
Look, it's a very good question because the law obligates every apartment building to have two types of insurance, okay? An insurance for the elevator, okay, for the elevator of the building, and an insurance for fire insurance, okay? These two, there is an obligation, okay? But I have seen cases of friends that lives in, or clients that lives in a building apartment, and they just don't care. This is because it's like a common decision. Okay, it's a common decision in which you say the law says we need to hire a fire insurance, and the people says no, we don't want to spend annually money on that.
So the residents have to buy it.
The residents have to, not the residents of each apartment, but the residents of the whole building. Okay, the whole building. So, but of course, you can insure your apartment by yourself if you want.
Okay.
You can insure your apartment. You can do it, yeah. Because what happens if a building apartment goes down? Everyone has a piece of the land according to how many square meters they have on the building before. So they have a piece on the land. Of course, that's very uncommon, but you never know. In 2017, there was a big earthquake in Ecuador. In Pedernales, in the coast of Ecuador. Okay, and that was a big problem. So I mean, you could be in that position, but it's not very common here in Loja. There's not too much earthquakes of movements. Yeah. And we don't have this. And why? Why we don't have the insurance culture? Because we don't have, at least in this area, in Loja area, it's not very common floods, or it's not very common like winters that creates a big mess in properties. Well, if you live next to a river, probably with El Nino, for example, and this kind of climate phenomena, okay, you could have problems. Yes. But if you buy in another place, we don't have extreme weather conditions in Ecuador. At least I will say that. I don't know, you can compare it to other countries, but I don't think we have extreme weather conditions, okay, more than once a year in the winter. Probably too much rain, and it causes some problems in the roads or in some properties, but it's not very common that you say my property was damaged by the climate disaster, okay? We don't have tornadoes or tornadoes or these kind of things. Never, yeah. So that's why I think we don't have like this cultural insurance our houses.
Interesting.
But a fire can happen to anyone. That's true.
True.
And now we go to the cons. Okay. That you were asking here. There's a very particular things in Loja. Okay, but it's only in Loja.
Okay.
In Loja, I'm not talking about the city, all the parish. Okay. There is a lot of developers that I see that they are selling gated communities. Okay? be careful with that.
Okay.
And in what they really are selling you is a property that was subdivided and was served with electricity, water, and these kind of things. Okay, but it's not. It is not true that those are approved as gated communities.
Okay.
So when you see gated communities, it's okay. I mean, you can buy it. It's not that you cannot do it, okay? But you have to know that it's not true that it's a gated communities, okay? That doesn't, the municipality of Loja do not approve closed gated communities.
Oh.
In theory, when you subdivide, I'm saying in theory because that's what the law says.
Yeah.
Okay? When you subdivide and you create the roads are public, are from the municipality.
Okay.
So if they are just raising the price crazily because they are selling you a property in a gated community, you always have to be careful.
Okay.
Even though it's very improbable that they take out the gate, because probably there is a gate.
Yeah.
Physically, probably there is a gate, okay? But probably it's very uncommon that some neighbors say, I want to take down this because it's a public road. It could happen, okay?
Okay.
There is no gated communities approved in Loja
Wow.
area, okay? Or the parish, Vilcabamba,
Yeah.
So just be careful. I mean, you have to be careful with that foreigners. Sometimes
Sure.
they just raise the price because it's a gated community.
Yeah.
But the reality is that there is no bylaws of this gated community because that's a common thing. So when you want to improve or maintain a road and you go to your neighbors end up saying you, oh yeah, but I don't have any obligation to invest on this. And it's very common. Okay? When you try to collect money to make maintenance over the gated community road, there are some people that doesn't want to pay. And you don't have any way to obligate them to pay.
Are they really not supposed to keep people out either then, if it's public, technically, in the gated community?
Of course, yes. It is very improbable that someone, a third party, try to enter to a gated community because they don't have, if the gated community ends at some point. But sometimes, and I have seen this, let's say you do a subdivision here, and the next door owner also develops a subdivision. And it's very convenient for him, these roads.
Yeah.
Okay? He says, okay, I don't want this gate because I don't have any other access way.
Yeah.
There is already roads that were approved by the municipality until here. So I just need to open a small thing here and develop my property, okay? You know, when you have one property built after another, okay?
Yeah.
So this is something that you can take in account when someone tries to sell you a gated community.
Yeah. Okay, good to know.
Yeah, so this is about these condos in Ecuador. In Loja, not in Ecuador, in Loja. If you buy in Guayaquil, they do have they have condos, yes. With bylaws and stuff, yes, they do have it.
One more thing I thought of, Jose, is mortgages are not common here, especially for foreigners. I know they're not that common for Ecuadorians either. So when we talk about buying a property, we mean almost always having the cash to do that, right?
Yes. But if you're talking about mortgages from a bank or a personal mortgage?
I don't really know the difference, I guess.
I mean, no, the mortgage is the same.
Okay.
About the mortgage, but it's very uncommon that a bank loans you money if you're a foreigner that just came into the country to buy a property because they don't have any history from you. So probably they don't give you a loan. Okay. In any case, if a financial institution gives you money to buy a property, okay, you have to know that in Ecuador they won't give you 100%.
Okay.
They will give you 70% because we have a law here in Ecuador that was established a lot of years ago, okay, in which if you do business with a bank, okay, and you have a loan with a bank with a mortgage of the property that you're buying, okay, if you don't pay, the bank cannot go over the property and other assets. Okay. They can only go for the property. They cannot go for other assets.
Okay.
Okay. Mm-hmm. That's why they only, from the day that law was approved, the banks say, okay, the banks in general terms, they say, okay, we're only loaning people 70%.
Yeah.
So if you're planning to apply for a mortgage in a bank, for a loan in a bank with a mortgage of the property, you need to know that you need to have at least 30% of the price of the property available to buy the property. The other 70%, the banking.
We had friends who were trying to sell a house that they bought with a mortgage, and buyers did not like that. I don't know. They were very suspicious about wanting to offer on a house that had a mortgage. I think just the extra step of making sure the mortgage was paid off from the seller. Do you know, is that changing? Are people less suspicious of buying a house that still has a mortgage on it?
Yeah, the mortgage, let's say, is basically a lien.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you go to the registered property officer and you check for the history of the property, you will see the mortgage and the prohibition to sell registered. Okay, so if you don't pay the mortgage first, they do not lift the prohibition to sell. So basically, that means that you won't be able to buy or to sell.
And you could pay the mortgage, and then the buyer can say, "Oh, I'm not selling." I mean,
exactly. But that's why we go to the first thing.
Yeah.
If you have a promissory contract, what would I do in that case? For example, I say, okay, perfect. Let's do the promissory contract. Okay. But I will also say which bank you are owning to.
Yeah.
This specific bank. Perfect. You talk to the bank, and in the promissory contract, you say the deposit of $50,000 it's to pay the mortgage.
Okay.
And it's paid directly on the bank account number, okay, or in this bank account. So the bank can take it directly as soon as it comes, can pay the mortgage. Okay, so you must coordinate everything to be sure that you won't have a problem.
Yeah.
Because it will be a mess if the buyer takes the money, spending in another thing, and they don't pay the mortgage. But it is a possibility. So you have to do it correctly.
Yeah.
Okay. With a promissory contract, talking to the bank, talking to the seller, so everyone is in the same page. Yeah. But it's possible. Okay. We have done it.
Yeah.
Yes, we have done it before. Everything went fine.
Anything else, Blake?
I don't think so. But if you want to share how to get in contact with you guys and all of that.
Yeah, this has been so helpful. I feel like we bought our home almost 5 years ago now, and I'm looking back, did we do everything right? I know I've definitely learned some things in this conversation, so I'm sure our viewers will as well. And if you have questions on this, I mean, feel free to leave comments, and maybe Jose will check the comments and respond. And also, you can contact him directly. How?
Yes, of course. I mean, you can contact. We have a webpage that's www.ablitco. I don't know if you can see this. Yes, ablitco.com. It's ablitco.com.
Yeah.
Okay, so there is our contact information.
Yeah.
And you can reach us, and we will be happy to help you.
So, Jose can answer questions on real estate, visas, any other. We're going to be speaking with him soon about the citizenship process. They can help with their driver's license. We need to get a will made. All these things. It's very useful. So definitely bookmark that page or whatever the current thing you do with pages. I always have tabs up on my computer, like 50 tabs. That's how I keep track of things, much to Blake's horror. So keep that Ablitco. And you can also reach us at averagefamilyabroad.com if you have questions as well, and we will be happy to respond to you. So thank you so much, Jose. This was really helpful and interesting, and I hope that anyone with questions interested in buying property here will find it helpful. So
yeah, thank you for as I told you, thank you for the invitation, and we will be happy to talk again about any other stuff regarding property sales.
Yeah.
If there's any other thing or other matters that we can manage, okay, we will be happy to do it.